But the first one I want to talk about is, and I know you guys probably went over this with Javi when you did your fundamentals, but it has to do with the grip and the relative elbow position. So when you guys front squat, the position of your forearms, the angle of your forearms and where your elbows are will and should be different than your jerk. You guys need that, right? So what I'm talking about is with the clean, when you come out of it, well, I don't think I can do it with the PPC. Your elbows are going to be a little bit higher up, right? And with the jerk, you're actually going to bring the elbows down a little bit. So it's almost like a pressing position almost, right? So you come out of the clean, okay, boom, and then you adjust, right? And so right here, this position, it allows you to have that bar path. So Elaine, you were talking about not getting the bar far enough back. If you look at the position of my forearm, you almost want that bar to retrace that angle, okay, to continue on. So from here, it's going to come up here, right? And I want when you're saying like the bar is not far enough back, we want to think about stacking that bar over your traps, okay? So right overhead is this, okay? And this is really soft. It's not a strong position, but if you can get it here, it's almost like you're getting your head through, but your your traps are activated, right? Or your deltoids are activated. That is a much stronger position, okay? So with the, when you guys come out of the clean, right, a lot of times, some people can do this. I can't, I have to bump my hands out a little bit when I come out of my clean to get my grip position because it's a little bit wider than my regular clean grip. But one of the things that I see a lot is people trying to jerk with their elbows like this, okay? So if you're driving the bar off your shoulders here and you extend your arms, it's gonna go like this. See what I'm saying? Instead of going here, when you drive, it's gonna go. I think, Jessica, you do that, right? Your elbows are really high.
Yeah.
So what we want is to get that good front rack position, and you want to build a big shelf. So I think about, when I think about my jerk rack, I actually think about tucking my triceps to my lats. So I'm here, okay, and then you can kind of get this really rigid like lock here. And from here, when you guys dip and drive, it's not gonna do this. And so with the grip, we're gonna go into the next fault is, so first it's the grip positioning, right? People not adjusting the proper angle for their forearm. It's gonna go into the bar dropping off their shoulders. A lot of times I see people, they go for a jerk, and when they dip, the bar goes, it comes down a little bit off their shoulder, and then they try to jerk it. Have you guys seen that? You guys watch people? I'm always watching. That's why I see all these things. Always judging also.
Are they, I mean, are they like actually kind of, they're not keeping their chest up too? Does that
well, so that could be one of them, but right now we're just talking about basically dropping the elbows. So not getting a really good front rack position. So if you're somebody, and this is something that I kind of struggle with as well. Like when I front squat, I don't have the best front rack position. I know we talked about last time. My upper back kind of like rounds a little bit when it gets heavy. That's something that I need to kind of address. But for people that come out of the clean, right? And if you're like this, rounded, right? You're trying to jerk from there. That's not an optimal position. So what you actually want is you want to open up your shoulders, right? Open up your chest, and you can jerk from here. This is a rigid shelf that you guys are building, right? So the fault is they're caved in like this. They drop their elbows, and so the bar starts coming down their shoulder. I need to not wear a black shirt. I need to wear like something brighter, but it starts coming off their shoulders, right? And then they try to change direction, and they wonder why they can't get that bar right, right? And that's something that we got to think about. Any questions?
Not a question, but okay, I guess I do adjust it so that my elbows are high and I jerk.
Oh, you're saying you adjust it to high elbows and then you jerk from there.
So I guess
So
there's my fault.
So I mean, yeah. So if you, so here's the thing about it, like weightlifting is, you have this almost like a cookie cutter, like best one fits all kind of technique that we look for, right? The ideal technique. But you have people with different arm length and lever length, so they kind of you have to tailor their technique to their body shapes, right? And on top of that, people will kind of develop, I don't want to say style, because I don't want people to like chase after like, oh, I want to lift like this, I'm going to, do this. They kind of develop their own style of lifting over time, right? But for beginner to intermediate, as coaches, we want them to kind of go as close to that optimal technique as possible. But if there are no faults elsewhere and you can jerk just fine with your elbows up, that's fine, right? But ideally, what we want is for the forearms to kind of be at this angle and not here, okay? Next time you jerk, just give it a shot and see how it feels. You might find that the overhead position, you can get into that position a little bit better.
Okay.
Okay. So this one, I know Jessica has asked me about your grip overhead. So a lot of times what I see when they jerk, they press, even when they bench press, is, I don't even know if I can do this. Their wrists are cocked back like this, right? And the bar sits more at the base of their fingers, right, as opposed to the meat of their hands, right? So their overhead and their snatch is like this, and their jerk is like this. And guess what? You probably have really painful wrist issues from it. That is not an optimal position. It is weak. It is a weak position, and also it is almost, a lot of times it happens because people lack that mobility to get the bar back. So instead of doing this, they kind of do this to change that center of mass so that it stacks over the traps, but they're not doing it with their arms. So when you can, you want to use, hi Jamie, you want to use your skeletal system as much as possible, right? So when you're punching out in that jerk, you want to stack everything in line. So what we're looking for, it's like a little, think about it like a little squat rack, right? The bar comes in here, right? So it's not this. I don't know if you guys can see. It's not here. It's not here. It's there. Okay, so think about that little. Miho, I know you got a broomstick. All right. Get the group boost. Now, Jessica, you got anything? I don't know, Jamie, if you have anything. Give me like a little J hook, your squat rack, right? And then the bar comes in. That's the position we want. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Not this, and not this. Okay. So, all right. So yeah. So what can we do about that? Like, if it is indeed tight lats, if you can't get the bar stacked over your traps, right? You're compensating with your wrist. Then we can do stretches. You can roll out your lats. Okay. It might be a strength issue where you don't feel comfortable with the bar back here. There's exercises we can do for that as well. Sorry, I hear my baby. They're wrestling upstairs. Okay, so yes, so that bar needs to stack over the straps. Okay, so next fault that I see, and this is something that Elaine had brought up as well, is people who jerk too narrow. Okay, there is the front to back, length, and width, right? And we're talking about width-wise. So when we jerk, it's called tight roping, okay? We don't want, oh man, I feel so awkward with not wearing shoes. All right, so what we're talking about is doing a jerk like this, right, Elaine? Right, so you have your weights overhead, and this is not a strong position. So what we actually want, what I like to think about is an oval. Oh, I got my whiteboard. So instead of this, where it's really narrow, side to side, we want space in between. And what I like to think about when I jerk is there should be like an oval here, right? And that's will sit between your feet. Okay, and this is something that you'll have to get chalk and just draw a line at the gym or at home and just do it. Like, you have to go. There are a couple ways to do it. So you'd mark out where you want your feet to be, right, with chalk. And you would mimic going on your toes, like at the full extension of that jerk, and then drop into that position. Okay, so again, it'll come up and then drop into it. Okay. So I don't know. Do you guys have space? Can you try this? Can you do this? I don't know. Yeah. All right. I want to see this. I don't know if I'll be able to see your feet. I'm gonna have to trust you guys. Oh. You too, Jessica. Let's go.
Honestly, facing you like this or side like this?
Can you do like 45-degree angle?
Oh my gosh.
Well, you just face like that way. All right. Oh, thank you, Jamie. You're doing a ton of work to get in position.
This is weird.
All right, Jessica, you're gonna have to go back a little bit. Oh, yeah, that's enough. All right, I like this. Yeah, socks off if you're gonna go
Dying, preferably.
dangerous. All right, so let's start with Elaine. So you're going to kind of go on your toes, like you're at the top of your extension, and without jumping any further, you're gonna drop into that split position. Okay. All right. One more time. So you gotta recover front foot first. Okay. Ready? Okay. So you probably don't need to go down that low. You hear me? No, you're muted. I can't hear you. No.
Yeah, how do I do that? I do go down too low too when I land.
So it has to, it's really dependent on if you're too narrow, right? Like front and back, if your length is too short,
Mhm.
you're gonna end up dropping really low, right? To bench
Okay.
knees, right? So like you said, I wasn't able to see how far you were like width-wise, but
Uh-huh.
you have to go a little bit wider, side to side and front and back.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's something that you got to play around with your coach.
Mm.
Okay, Jamie.
Okay.
So you're gonna go on your toes and then drop. Okay. There's a little wiggle over there. Let's try that again. All right, so ready? Go. All right. That's pretty good. All right, recover. Can you turn to so that I can see it from the side? Yeah. Ready? Toes. Go. Okay. All right. So from what I can see, you kind of did a little hop, right?
Mhm.
Off your toes. We want to avoid that because we're just focusing on speed under, right? We're dropping down. Whoa. All right. Yeah, that was good. Sorry, I was worried that you were gonna slip on the rug. that was good. Another thing I gotta say. Sorry, Miho. We'll get to you in a sec. When you guys do these drills, don't forget about your torso and your arms. Okay. So I saw Jamie, your second one, you went like this, right? Hunch over.
Yeah.
Really think about like you should feel the pressure to be evenly distributed, right? And another thing that I like to do is I pretend I have a barbell, right? So,
Yeah, it's harder to do that with the bar.
right? You just gotta fake the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But other than that, like the hinge, that third one it might have been a little bit too wide lengthwise for you.
Ah, okay.
But it looked like your back foot kind of slid a little bit. I don't know if that happened. Okay, Mio.
Okay.
All right, go. A little bit forward. Go again. All right, so I'm seeing almost like you're kind of doing what Jamie did on that first rep. You're kind of like hopping up a little bit, right? Like you're on your toes and you're still trying to get a little bit of elevation. Don't think about that, right? We want that speed, right? So you're on your toes. That's as high as you're gonna be, right? And then you're gonna drop. Okay, so give me one more time.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Did you guys see that? Did you guys see what she did?
It's hard because I'm upstairs and like I'm on.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But
You don't want to annoy your neighbors. Okay,
no,
so I will say what I saw was a lot of this with your back, right? You have to work on that upright torso, right? So it was like I can't even like this. So you were low forward, like it was dominant in that front foot, right? So we want here, right? This position, not too much this. You never want that front knee to go past your ankle, right? Because that just means you're off balance. Like you have all that force going forward, right? So you want over or a little bit behind. That 300-pound barbell is gonna go forward. You're gonna launch it. Okay, Jessica, let's go. You gotta go back a little bit. Go
Huh?
back a little bit.
Move back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, are those steps there?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
All right,
Okay.
let's see it. Oh, okay.
No.
All right, so slow down here. You're gonna go on your toes, and without jumping again, you're going to drop into that split position. So just focus on that. So on your toes.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'm done.
Nope. Hold
No.
on. You gotta pause on your toes. Okay. So pause on your toes and drop.
And I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay. So what I'm seeing, the reason why I'm asking her to pause on her toes is that she is on her toes and leaning forward and starting to kind of almost, she wants to jump, right? Just, that's what you're doing. You're doing this and then trying to jump it. So we want here to just go into the split. It's like, think of it as like a slide more than like a jump. Okay.
Okay.
Give us one more. Everyone gets 3. I think Mio did like 4.
Okay.
Okay, a little bit off balance. What I would like to see. So this is like I said before, you guys would get chalk at the gym or on the sidewalk and mark out where your feet are, and you can get a coach. Even though I don't know when we're gonna be back in the gym, makes me really sad. To tell you how your feet should be, right? And then you just practice. You just drill. Okay. What I saw though, Jessica, was your balance is too far forward on all your attempts. So you just want to think about dropping down instead of falling forward almost. That's okay. Real quick. Anybody have questions? Jamie, I know you came a little later. Do you have any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so so this is kind of like a little more complicated because there are so many things that can go wrong here, but it is the dip. Okay, when it comes to the jerk, a lot of times, where do we start? People who dip too fast. Okay, they dip so fast that the bar crashes onto them, right? Because what we want is as the weight comes down, it is that change of direction, right? That comes back up, right? You apply force. So you almost have to put on the brakes before changing directions, right? So a lot of times I'll see people, this happens like on a heavier attempt. They kind of psych themselves out. So they'll drop for the dip, and then you'll actually see the bar come off their shoulders a little bit. And as they're coming back up, they meet the bar again as the bar's coming down. And so that feels so heavy, right? Because you're not working with the barbell. So what we want is actually you want that bar to be connected to you the whole time, right? Same thing as with the clean and the snatch. With the turnover, same thing here with the jerk. When you guys dip, you got to stay connected to the bar. Okay, whether that's it's a timing issue. You just got to feel that, right? That connection. You got to feel how fast that bar is going to drop. And when you guys do it more often, you will know like how fast you want to move, right? And obviously, like when you change weights, like it's going to change a little bit as well, the speed you dip at. So that is the first fault that I see with the dip. Second one is how deep people dip, right? I know you guys cover this because I was there for this lecture, this class. I don't want to call it lecture. is the two different types of dips and all the in-betweens. You have the elastic and you have the strength, right? If you guys watch like top level lifters, it is so satisfying because you watch that bar and it oscillates, right? At the bottom of their dip, the bar goes, and then they come up for their jerk and the weight goes, and then they're coming up with it. Sadly, that doesn't really happen with us because we don't lift heavy enough. So we can't you really use that bar oscillation the same way. For me personally, like you kind of figure out, they say that if you're somebody who snatch or cleans very high percentage of your squat, then you're more elastic. Like if it depends on the muscle type, fiber type, right? And if you're a strong squatter, you might go with the strength bias dip. Or you might be somewhere in between. It really depends. You have to figure it out, right? This is something, if you're somebody who every time you drive the bar up, it's just not quite high enough and you have to press out a little bit, it could be you're not dipping or driving it correctly, or just you're not pulling down or the timing is wrong, right? But here, let's talk about the kind of dip that you're gonna do. So for myself, I wanna say I actually lean towards the strength dip. So my dip is much lower than somebody who, I think like Javi is very more shallow. He's got that like really quick dip. So it's a difference of like this versus where I'm like that. I almost do like a quarter squat. I've tried to do the elastic dip, but it just, I can't change direction fast enough, right? I can't put the brakes on fast enough. And that's something I don't work on. If you wanted to, you can do jerk dips, right? Where you just drop under, you brace yourself, just getting used to that weight and then changing direction, or jerk drives where you actually shrug that bar off your shoulders. So there are all these like exercises that you can program to like remedy like these faults. It's actually kind of cool. It's like problem solving. So do you guys have any idea what kind of jerk dips you use?
When it gets heavy, I definitely have problems catching it with straight arms. Like I've got that little press out at the end.
Yeah. So do you know if it's because of not elevating the bar high enough, or if it's because you don't drop low enough?
I think it's because I don't drop, but I've never really had anybody look at it.
Yeah. Okay. So I will say, I've told everybody here, film your lifts always.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it looks really bad, but you know, you're doing it for a good cause, right? You want to.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I was just looking at my videos. I have a bunch of cleans and a bunch of snatches, but I don't have any jerks.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's you even just watching it, not even giving it to a coach.
Yeah.
You know, you can kind of tell, right? So with I think most of us, because we can't use the bar oscillation, use the whip, most of us have to use a more strength dominant or a deeper dip to do this. So that's something you guys will have to discover for yourself. I guess what my fault would be is people not using the correct dip for themselves. They shorten the dip, right? When they should be going a little bit lower, or vice versa. So next one will be people who, when they dip, they shoot the bar forward. Okay, so when I think about the dip, I know, let me draw for you guys. Oh, one of my windows just blew open. Let me see if I can do this. You know what? I'm not a really good artist. I'm gonna demo it for you guys. So I'm gonna show you guys one of the dips that I see a lot, and you tell me which way the bars are gonna go. Okay. So where's the bar gonna go?
Forward.
Right? It's a lot of times people, it's almost like they load up their knees by doing this, right? When I think about the dip, I actually think about almost, I want to say like sitting back a little bit, but just a little bit. I don't want you guys to be like, oh, Charlie told me to sit back when I jerk. No, you're going back like an inch, right? So like not even really, you know, you can't even see the difference, right? But it's the difference of someone who's gonna dip here versus here, right? This one, it's you're loading up your knees, right? You're going this way. The bar will tend to pull you forward, right? When you dip like this. But if you can kind of, oh, I should probably show you guys the point. This versus this, right? You are loading up the posterior chain, okay? When I say you kind of sit back, you're basically just clearing a very minor distance. You're not sitting back, but you're kind of sending your hips back a little bit. Because if you drop straight down, this is where it's going to be, right? This is not a strong position to drive from, right? So straight down versus here. So we talked a lot about that balance, right? If you go straight down, right, with your back like this, you're not going to be back, right? You have to distribute that weight, the bar, right? So again, I'll show you guys here, right? So it's kind of like spread evenly, right? And from here, when you drive, you're thinking of, I like to think about squeezing my butt almost. That helps me quite a bit. And you guys got to just like pick out little cues that coaches give you and find one that sticks. Okay. Any questions?
So when you dip, your knees go out a little bit, right? They're not like
Yeah, you don't.
straightforward.
I don't want to say you never, because there are probably people who do, but majority of the time, no, you don't do that.
Mhm.
And that's something like, yeah, you want to push your knees out a little bit, right? And you will feel your glutes firing versus just like loading your quads, basically.
Mhm.
Jessica, question? All right, Miho? Jeremy, questions? All right, so we did the dips. Last one I have today is too much focus on the press. So a lot of times you can tell somebody who presses, who over presses their jerks, is you can kind of look at their push press. And if you're somebody whose push press is closer to on the low end, I guess, then you're pressing more than you're using your legs, right? A lot of times I see people when they push press, they kind of start driving before they even finish extension, right? So when I think about push press, you got to think about it as a hip dominant, leg driven movement. Not, I know it says press. Don't think of it as a press. Think about your hips and your legs, right? So same thing with the jerk. If you, a lot of times people will kind of think about they're driving the bar, they're pushing it, or like they end up pressing out, right? You gotta work on pulling yourself under the bar. Okay, so then that's why I asked you earlier, like, is it because you're not elevating it enough? And so you can tell, like, if you guys film yourself, you can tell how high the bar is and whether or not there's enough space for you to kind of get under it. Some ways that you can practice is, I actually love to program push jerks into split jerks. I love programming that because the push jerk to me forces you to pull under the bar, right? With the split jerk, you just jump your feet out and you're already like a foot lower, right? And so people kind of use that, you know, to get under the bar when really they should learn to pull themselves under, right? We talked about before, I think last week, about how to get speed, faster speed under the snatch. I forgot who asked that. One way that we could do that is doing it without jumping your feet. This is same concept here. If you're jumping your feet out, you're gonna get lower, right? If you, for example, want to get speed, learn to snatch fast, get under the bar faster, right? You would do like a no feet snatch, no feet. So from here, you just practice like pulling yourself under without, you know, going from here, using that to get under. Same thing with the jerk. So push jerk into a split jerk. That's a good one. I really like that one. So timing under the bar and punching it out. So something that I think about when I do jerks for me personally, split jerk is finish the shrug, like finish the shrug and punch out at the top. And yeah, stacking it over my traps. For push jerk, I have all these like little words that I think about. Like push jerk is the same for me as snatch. I think about finesse. It's like more technique than just using your strength. So think about like little things that work for you guys. Like find your own words, I guess, ways to prime yourself before your lift. But I think that covers most of the faults that I see when it comes to jerks. Do you have any questions? Like maybe you have something like an issue you want me to figure out how we can remedy it. Now's the chance. No? No? Jessica probably has like a ton of questions that she doesn't want to ask me right now in front of everybody. Am I right?
Yeah.
You do. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I'll text them to you.
Okay. It's gonna be like a page, like 3-part text. Yeah. So that is it for the jerks. And if you guys have no questions, Elaine, did I address everything? Did I miss
I mean, it's like I'm kind of aware of what my issues are. I mean, the chalk is like good.
Yeah.
But once again, it's also kind of figuring out where, like for my body, like where it should be. You know what I mean? Like I can draw I want on the sidewalk. You know what I mean?
So, I have another one. So there is a movement called a jerk balance. And it can be done 2 ways. One where you move your feet and one where you let me show you guys this one. and this would be good for you, right? So one that move your feet, so say this is my split, right? This is what I'm on, like this like mat, and I'm really scared I'm gonna slip. All right, so say this is my split, right? This is where I do it, right? With the jerk bounce, I'm gonna come back a little bit, like maybe like half of your foot long, and you're going to dip and drop, right? And finish. Come back, okay? Dip and drop, right? That's the one where you move your feet, right? So and then if you're somebody who needs to get used to that width, right? Then you would set up where you finish your jerk, right? And obviously there's a way lighter percentage for this.
Yeah.
And you would just go from here, right?
Okay.
Rack, same thing. And that gets your body used to where it lands, right? And over time, your muscle memory is going to stick. So when you do your split, it's going to go back to that.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
Yes.
You mentioned that you like to program, I think you said push presses into split jerks. So just like kind of as a 2-part complex.
Put push jerks into split jerks.
Yeah. Oh,
Wait.
push jerks into split jerks. Got it. Okay.
Wait, so sorry, there was a question? What was the question?
I was just, because I was just thinking, oh, if I'm going to do, because now that we've talked, I want to go try all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to put the correct 2 movements together.
Yeah, so like I said, programming it's like problem solving, right? So if you're somebody who lacks that strength, then we might do like push presses first, like 2 push presses and do 2 push jerks. But if you want to work on that speed, then I like to do 2 push jerks and 1 split jerk.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And I say 1 split jerk because a lot of times, if you go for that second one, it's gonna look like shit, like most, right? So why not get rid of it and not practice bad habits, right?
Yeah.
Perfect practice doesn't make perfect. Practice doesn't make perfect. It's perfect practice makes perfect. So you don't want that second rep, to be worse.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Good. All right. Well, that concludes it. Thank you guys for joining me.
Do we need to film ourselves and show you again like last time?
You don't have to. I kind of feel like that is like, I don't know. I feel like as a weightlifting class, that's like the best part of it, right? It's to get somebody.
I think that's super helpful.
It's to get somebody to tell you that your lifts don't look that great. I mean, not you, obviously, because what you showed us was amazing, right? Jamie, you weren't here for it, but
I watched it after the fact. I got the whole potato thing, everything.
Oh my God. It was the best lift I've ever seen in my life. Just like a little blur. No, so no, I do encourage you to send me like a jerk video or something. It is my job to kind of be, and obviously all the coaches, to nitpick. Like that's what we want. We want good mechanics. We want our lifts to look good.